There we go. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's me again. We're live again. I would like to say good morning to all of you. I'd like to say hello to my spirit guide, Gregor, who is standing to my right side. Kachoro is not on the sofa at the moment. He's too hot and bothered. But I would like to say good morning to Carolyn. Say good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
And I'd like to say good morning to Al in Colorado. Good morning, Al.
Good morning.
And are you all getting ready for Christmas?
We are, yes. The whole family's excited. We had a few birthdays this week. We have my daughter's birthday after, but it's an exciting time.
It was your birthday a few days ago.
It was my birthday, and then my son's birthday yesterday, and Kira's birthday is right after New Year's. So we have.
This is a very expensive time for you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh boy, I thought Reese's birthday was too close to Christmas, and his is February. But unfortunately, yours is tougher than mine.
And when my father was here, he was Christmas Eve, so we really had a lot of birthdays.
That's nice, though, right? Except that when you're a kid, I always thought that if I had a child born on or around Christmas, the one thing I would make sure absolutely is that they don't get Christmas and birthday combined, because a lot of people say, oh, well, this is for your birthday and for Christmas. Samantha, I had it with Samantha, it was Easter. Her birthday often fell on Easter, whenever around Easter. And I always had a big party for her, 20-some kids, 22 kids she had in the class. And I'd always have a party for her with the kids. And almost every child would bring her a chocolate Easter egg. And it was so unfair, really, because first of all, you struggle to eat that many Easter eggs. And second of all, come on. I mean, be a little bit more inventive, people, just because kids do miss out when they have to suffer those, not suffer exactly, when they have to put up with that stuff. So where are we? Well, I am getting ready for Christmas. It suddenly occurred to me the other day that I had not made my marzipan for my Christmas cake. And I always make it, freeze it, take it with me to New York. By the time I get off the plane, it's sort of thawing nicely. And then I put it in the fridge until I'm ready to roll it out. But all of a sudden I had a mad panic. And then I thought, oh, never mind, I'll make it this afternoon. And I had no pasteurized eggs to make the thing with. So it's been that kind of a thing. We're chasing our tails. Carolyn and I are chasing the very, very last edits, right, Carolyn, of the cookbook. We're so excited about this cookbook. And so it will be ready. Like, anybody wants one, you can order it now. I'm so excited about it, and I shouldn't say this on air, but Samantha never watches me on television anyway, so I'm going to take the one that the book we're using to edit. I'm taking it with me.
You want me to grab the book?
Yeah, why don't you grab the book? I did show it. I think
we didn't have it.
Actually, I showed it on the Everything Is Attitude show, and I'm just going to move that a little bit there like that. So. Ta-da! Can you see it, Al? I don't know if
I can't. Yes, you can see it. Yeah.
The light's shining on it or not.
No, you're good now.
That's myself, my daughter, and my darling boy. Oh, we're all wearing aprons, and we're all brandishing rolling pins in Rosemary's Kitchen, which is what the book is called. And look at this. I love this picture. One perfect Christmas cake. And the recipe's in the book. And I will be hopefully trying to, I'm hoping this year when I make the cake, I've made the cake, when I decorate the cake, I should be at Samantha's in New York while I'm doing it, but I'm hoping to make a YouTube of decorating the cake so that you can actually see how it's done. It's the easiest and the simplest thing to do. But doesn't that look good? What do you think, Al? Are you impressed with my Christmas cake?
Yeah, I would love for you to open it and show how beautiful the recipes are and how easy they are.
Can I just do a magic, like, oh, this is a good page. Ta-da! Now, you'll see that's a sauce, but that's Reese and I riding the train. We're riding the train. So all the way throughout the book, let me give you another example of things. All the way through the book, there are photos of me and the food and family. Here, I'll show you this one. This is a nice one. So that's the family. That's myself, Samantha, Reese, and that's me and Reese. And that is my, is that my tiramisu? I think that's my tiramisu. And I'll show you one more then, if you really, isn't this good? Doesn't it look good?
Show if you could, Rosemary, show the recipe if you could. To see how nicely it's like real bold, large print.
Ta-da!
Really nice. Yeah.
That is the pavlova. And I was trying to find the collage as well. Oh, there we are. And this is a collage of the food. Some of the recipes. Don't they look good? And that's the creme delights, my own little creation of creme delights with you can see some little chocolate discs on the top. I actually melted some chocolate, got a bottle top, stuck the bottle top in the chocolate, put them on, stamped them on some parchment paper, and I had made some nice little discs. I'm so inventive. I also got some gold paint and just dusted them with a little bit of gold, edible food. So can you pull that over?
It's a very warm and inviting family cookbook, right?
It's like, yeah,
a lot of love put into it.
I'm thrilled with it, actually. I'm really thrilled with it. When I came to edit it, I have to tell you, it came last Thursday afternoon. When I came to edit it, I was horrified because it was page after page after page after page of notes, because on almost every page we had to make corrections and so on. And Carolyn has been brilliant. So the two of us have been sitting down for the last, well, I spent 4 or 5 days over the weekend just working on it. And Carolyn and I have been working on it the last 2 days solidly. We're going to send it off any minute now, and then it's done and we can move on to the next thing. Enough about my cooking and my cookbook, but I am proud of it, and I'm so happy to have it for Christmas. I was determined this year. I've been working on this for years, and I was determined this year. I said to Carolyn sometime in August, no matter what happens, that cookbook is going out before Christmas this year. By the skin of my teeth, or our teeth, we've done it. We've done it. So anyway, so we're making, I'm going to tell you what we have as delicious delights, because I know in America everybody makes, do you call them Christmas cookies? Is that you make Christmas cookies and you put frosting on them, but they're usually pretty hard and brittle. I suppose it depends whose cookies you have, right? But you know, we have in England, we have mince pies, and people think it's full of meat, but it's actually sweet meats. They're delicious. We have the almond tartlets. We have all kinds of chocolate truffles. There's brilliant recipe in there for chocolate truffles. We have, you know, all those sorts of things. And we have, and I personally, not most people in England don't, in France, I suppose they do. I make Mondial, I think I'm saying it right, Mondial bars, chocolate bars, and you melt the chocolate and then you chop up fruits and nuts and things and put it in the chocolate and make chocolate bars out of it. And that recipe's in the book as well. We have so many good recipes in there. Plus, of course, we have the rack of lamb, and what else do we have?
Oh, pork with apricots.
Pork with apricots, arroz con pollo, Rosemary's curry chicken. Yeah, we have, you know, we have all sorts of things in there. Lots and lots. And there's something in there for everybody. Moving on from my cookbook, shall we get down to some questions?
Got lots.
Let's go. I hope there are some fun. It's nearly Christmas. My grandson said to me yesterday, Mosey, only 6 more days till you're here. And he was so excited. Now his eyes were so wide and so excited. And it was like, it's wonderful when you have somebody who's excited to see you. Don't you think so, Al?
I do, yeah.
I'm sure you're excited that all your family descended on you, are you? But it's the time of forgiving and joy and all of that. Who's going to start? Carolyn, you're champing at the bit here, so let's go, shall we?
We've got Terry.
Good morning, Terry.
Terry would like to know if our loved ones who have crossed over like us to keep their things as they were.
Oh, I see what you mean. You know, people do make shrines, don't they, out of somebody's bedroom, especially people who've lost their children. And I know that there are so many people out there, again, especially those who've lost their children or they've lost a particular loved one. They'll keep that old chair in the living room, even though they hate it, even though it's falling apart, but it was my dad's, you know. And people like to keep, you know, especially children, they like to keep the room absolutely, you know, neat and tidy and so on. And they like everything just as it was. And I know so many people who, you know, for one reason or another, at some point, they have to move house and they're so afraid that their loved ones or their children won't be able to find them because, you know, they won't know that they've moved. No, that's not true. First of all, you don't have to keep a shrine. And my suggestion would be keep a photograph of the person and always put some fresh flowers if you can, or a nice potted plant next to the photograph, you know. And I mean, I've got photographs of my daughter and my grandson all over the house. So I would, you know, and also a photo of my dad, because, you know, when I look at it, it's nice to just remember him as he used to be, although I have the advantage that I can see him anyway. But still, you don't, you know, you certainly don't have to keep things just as they were. We're talking about cookbooks. Some people actually think that if you know, they've got grandmother's recipe and, you know, and this is it, it's sacrosanct and you shouldn't change it. But if it's not, if it's too much salt or it's too sweet, or you think maybe I'll try a little of this or that, they'll just love it. It's their legacy to you. It's like me did with my cookbook. This is my legacy to my daughter and to my grandson. One of my legacies to my daughter and my grandson. And it's something I'm hoping she's going to be using, you know, until she hands it over to her grandchildren, perhaps. But you know, I'm not going to berate her, whether I'm still on this earth or whether I'm in the spirit. I'm not going to berate her if she decides to change it, because sometimes people have ideas and they change it. And if you do have a recipe, or you get my recipes and you feel that you should change it, a bit like Dean, I shall mention Dean, because Dean is making a muck-up of his Christmas cake. I do love you, Dean. But would you take that, what do you call it, saran wrap? We call it cling film in England. Take it off the cake. The cake needs to breathe. Take it off. You can have a squashy, soggy pudding. Sometimes people change it a little bit, put more brandy in than is required and so on. And some people like to do it just as it is. By all means, experiment. You don't have to, you know, you're not offending anybody by changing the bed or putting up new drapes, or in fact clearing out a bedroom and making an office of it. You're not offending anyone. They don't need those things anymore. And they're just happy to see you moving on and moving forward. And don't think for 1 minute that if you move house or you know, move away from the area, that they won't find you, because they'll be moving with you.
Speaking of Dean,
yes.
He says,
good morning, Dean.
He's watched the bread
You know,
and butter.
I do love you, don't you? Go on.
He says he's watched the bread and butter pudding video many times, and you talk about cream, but there is none in the recipe. Do you mean half and half? And he's asking because he's making the pudding together. So I looked at the recipe, and yes, it's half and half.
So it's half and half cream. Do we not have half and half cream in there?
You put half and half.
Oh.
When you made the video,
when
you said cream, not half and half, so you were slightly confused.
Oh, well, you know, whatever you've got. In England,
on that brandy too much.
You'll be sipping in the brandy. In England, we call it single cream. I'm not sure that we even have half and half in England. I don't know. Maybe we do. But we have single cream. You don't have single cream here, so half and half works just as well. That's I didn't expect a cooking question. Al, let's have a question.
Can I actually follow up with the possessions question?
Yes, please.
Do they have, do those in the spirit world have things that they want people to keep or don't want to see people let go?
Well, I can't speak for everyone because I haven't spoken to everyone in the spirit world, but my experience is that material things really aren't the issue anymore. It's what you feel about the thing. When you hold your father's watch, for instance, or when you wear your mother's pearls or what have you, it's not about the pearls and it's not about the watch. It's about the memories that they invoke in you, the thoughts that you have, the feelings that you have, the fondness that you have. So it's not about the article. And if you lose something, or if I mean, my father left me a biscuit barrel. It doesn't sound like much, but it was a beautiful thing. He bought it from China. It was an incredible piece of artwork, and it was crazed pottery. It probably wasn't worth a great deal, but all through my childhood, I would be fascinated with this thing, and I'd look at it and look at it. And my father used to tell me that, he broke it, he dropped it and broke it, and then he glued all the pieces together, which as a kid I believed. But then, of course, you realize there's a process to grazed pottery, and it's sort of like lots of tiny little cracks. And I would sit there fascinated, wondering how on earth he managed to put it all together, plus the fact that it was beautiful. And he would always say in front of everyone in my family, that's yours. When I'm gone, that's yours. And everyone knew it. And of course, I won't use the word stolen, because who in a family would steal from another person in a family? So I will say that it was taken. And when I asked for it back, it wasn't pleasant, and I was told initially no. And I won't go into the rest of the story, but it's an unpleasant story. The bottom line is that I did not retrieve the biscuit barrel, because in the end I thought, if she wants it that badly, then she can have it. It wasn't the biscuit. I would love to have it, no doubt about it. Of course, that person now doesn't have it, has probably sold it, because to her it was nothing. And there we are. But would I love it? Of course I would. If I saw one in the shop, I would love to have one. I would love to acquire that thing, because it reminds me of my father. Do I need it to remember it? No. Do I need it to remember him? No, I don't. So, I don't, as far as I know, he's not upset about the fact that it was taken from me. There we are. That's it now. I'm done with that. That's a story and a half, right there. You got more than you bargained for, right, Al?
Mary has a question.
Good morning, Mary.
My mom and brothers and sisters are putting up our Christmas tree tonight. Does my father, who passed last year, have any advice or input about decorating the tree? I can tell you right now, the only words that are rolling around in my head: have fun, have fun, have fun. Put on some music, do a little dancing, just have fun. Be a family all together if you can. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes there are family issues going on, but try if you can. I mean, I always had a party. I always had a Christmas tree decorating party. When I lived in Vermont, of course, we had a Christmas tree that was like 15, 16 feet high and also really wide. So I needed help, but I always think it's a good excuse. So whether it's 2 or 3 people in your family, whether it's just 1 or 2 friends that you invite over, I like to invite people over. The sherry always comes out, the port always comes out, and some little goodies always come out as well. Usually mince pies, because I love mince pies and they are a Christmas treat for me. Al. Yes, Al. I'm getting a bit lost. Yes.
Paul has a question.
Good morning, Paul.
He says, good morning. My question is, do our ancestors who we have never met watch over us and love us? For example, great-grandparents and beyond, or is it just those who have known us?
That's a good question, Paul. Thank you. I have had many occasions. And in fact, there's a story in the Eagle and the Rose which tells about a young man who came to see me. His parents urged him to come and see me because his fiance was killed in a tragic car accident. And she actually, in that consult at that time, did not come to us. I didn't see her at all. But I did see this little lady wearing a long grey dress. She was wearing a straw boater with a black headband, and she had some sort of a badge or emblem on the dress. I couldn't make it out properly, but she was carrying a small book in her hand. And she told us that her name was Martha. And she then went on to describe every single thing. Like, it's almost as if she was there day by day by day with this young man. She talked about his career. She talked about him wearing a uniform. She talked about his promotion. She talked about the new house that he'd bought. She talked about all of the renovations that he was doing. I mean, it just went on and on and on. So you totally knew that she was with him and watching over him. And this young man was so angry at the end of this consult, because although he couldn't deny that everything she said was true, number one, he wanted his girlfriend. He didn't want some unknown woman. And number two, he'd never heard of Martha ever. And it was only when he went home, and luckily he had taped the conversation, and he went home, and his parents were so excited because they absolutely knew that he would have a good experience with me. I don't know how they knew, but they knew. And he was so disappointed, and he said it was no good. It's no good at all. So they made a cup of tea, as we English do, Paul, don't we? We sat around. They sat around, and the mother said, "Play the tape." And so it got to the point where I described this lady in detail, and size and shape and everything. And I said, and she tells me her name is Martha. And his mother said, stop that tape. And she went running upstairs, and a little bit later on came down with a really dusty old photograph album. It had been under the bed for years, and he'd never seen it. And she's flicking through, and she's flicking through. And he came to see me later. He told me all of this, and he said my heart was thudding in my chest because I just knew what she was going to show me. But he said it was just so unbelievable. And finally she came to a photograph, and she pointed, and there was a short, plump lady wearing a long grey dress with an emblem. It happened to be the Salvation Army emblem. And a little book in her hand, which was a Salvation Army prayer book, and the straw boat and the black headband. And she said to her son, that lady there is my grandmother, and her name is Martha. So does that answer your question, Paul? So yes, he never met her, never knew about her, and his mother, they'd never even spoken about her ever. You know, in his hearing, certainly. But there she was, and knew everything about him. Al, let's have another question, shall we? It's obviously a day for storytelling today.
Yeah. Jeanette asks,
good morning, Jeanette.
Do you ever experience, Jeanette, yep. Do you ever experience dark spirits? And if you do, what do you do to protect against that? I
do. This is a longer subject, and again, if you go to the Eagle and the Rose, or if you go to A Matter of Life and Death, there are stories in both of those. I do remember Grey Eagle putting me in a position very, very early on when I had to face this really awful, evil entity, really terrible situation. And you know, I mean, I tell you, I was so scared, I was so afraid, and I kept looking to Grey Eagle saying, help me, and he just let me get on with it, because he knew, even though he was there to protect me, he knew that if I just got on with it and dealt with it, that I would find a way. I always find when evil comes into your life, there's a story in A Matter of Life and Death that is a pretty horrendous story in one way, but a beautiful story in another. The ending of the story is beautiful. But I can remember waking up in my bedroom after I'd had this particular experience that I write about in A Matter of Life and Death. I was in bed one night in Vermont, and the experience had happened in Florida. I was in bed and I woke up, and there was a serial killer in my bedroom, and you have to read the book to know the rest of the story. And let me tell you, it was very scary. And I just prayed. I trusted in God. I put my entire faith, my entire trust in him. I went upstairs to my office. I called a friend of mine in England, and I said, you need to help me to pray. And that's what we did. And we did that for about 2 or 3 hours. And I never had that experience, that particular experience again. But how do you deal with evil? Evil can only enter into you if you invite it in. If you want to do the Ouija board, if you want to muck about with, silly things, what other things do people do? People do get involved in the dark arts. When you do those things, you invite in. It's like opening your front door and saying to any stranger on the street, "Oh, come on in." Then you don't do it, do you? Because it's not safe, and it's even worse. It's even less safe if you do it with people in the spirit world. So just pay attention and don't invite it in, and pray. Carolyn,
My view on beauty.
good morning, Beauty. I can't call you all that other stuff. I'm going to call you Beauty.
Hello, Rosemary.
Good morning.
I'm 19 years old, and 3 months ago, I moved to the United States alone. I did that because deep down, I feel like this experience will prepare me for something in the future. I really want to fulfill the highest expression of myself on this planet. I know what I want to do in the future, but I don't know where to start. Any advice from the spirit world?
I'd love to know which country she came from, first of all. She writes beautifully and sounds like she speaks English really well. I think what you did was very daring. I've got two pieces of advice. Stay safe. It's all very well, coming on your own and not knowing anyone, but you should always, I'm going to suggest you either go to a church or the Salvation Army. I'm big on the Salvation Army, or to go to a community where you can be a part of that community a little bit. You don't have to involve yourself completely, but it's always good to have people who, if something untoward happens, it's always good to have a safety net. So find yourself a safety net and get to know people who, if God forbid you went missing or anything like that, make sure somebody knows when you're not there, when you're not where you're supposed to be. So, you're just a little thing. So stay safe. If it were my daughter, I would be probably following her, or I would be making sure that, there was some family connection or a friend connection that she could go to if she needed it. So don't, it's not brave to just throw caution to the wind. It's stupid to throw caution to the wind. I know there are people out there who don't like it when I do straight talking, but it really is stupid to put yourself in a position where, where nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows if something happens to you. And there are predators out there. So stay safe. That's my first piece of advice. Stay safe. And in that safe environment that you put yourself in, this is what I'm going to tell you I think you should do. Be the very best that you can be. Dare to be who you want to be. It sounds to me like you've got a lot of wonderful energy. It sounds to me like you really, really have a lot of focus. Decide what it is that you want to do and then go about finding out how to do it. If you want to be a writer, for instance, you might want to take a writing course. If you want to be a singer, take some singing lessons. Sort of decide what it is that you want to do and then go for it and trust in yourself, but stay safe doing it. Stay in a safe environment doing it, please.
We have a couple of comments and a question at the end. We have Dean said, my youngest was born on Christmas Day. I delivered her, my third one to deliver. And he said we celebrate the birthday on June 25th. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be December or they celebrate on June 25th. Not sure. Jen says, hi, Rosemary, you look gorgeous. and then says woo woo.
It's my Christmas jacket. Woo!
Make sure you got the woo woo in there too. So make sure you.
And one thing, thank you.
Naomi says, thank you so much for your time that you dedicate to sharing your knowledge with all of us. I really appreciate you, Rosemary.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank
And
you.
then Albertine has a question. Hello, Rosemary. Hello, Rosemary. Is it?
Totally trust Albertine to have a question every time. Good
Yes,
morning,
I think
Albertine.
we can.
What can we do for you today, darling?
She says, hello, Rosemary. Is there jealousy in the spirit world like here on Earth?
Oh, golly, that's a very good question, Albertine. I don't know, actually. Maybe. So, I can only tell you that the people I've spoken to, the people who've come into my sphere, and remember, those are the people that Greg allows in. So I'm very well protected. So people that I've spoken to, I'm not sure that he would allow anyone who harbored jealousy. I'm not sure that he would allow them into my sphere, because jealousy is an insidious and damaging emotion. Envy, you can be envious of someone without without it being, you can, like, I'm trying to think what I envy. I'm not sure I envy
Stephen King's writing ability.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I'm not sure that, no, I actually don't envy Stephen King's writing ability. I so admire it. But yes, I could wish if I could, I would love to be able to write as well as he does. He has the most incredible way of using words that just, something when I'm reading, I don't shiver because of the horror stuff. I shiver at the way he uses his words, because I'm a word person and he's just fantastic. Yeah. But, you can be envious of someone, but still, but in a good way, in a nice way. Oh, I wish I could do this or this. But jealousy is a whole other thing in that. And it's a damaging emotion, and causes so much more harm to everyone around that person who has a jealous nature. Plus, it seriously damages that person. So you're looking at a person who has not evolved enough, and don't think that I'm looking to Greg, or wouldn't tolerate it. Not in my sphere, because it's a termite mentality. It eats away at the foundation of a person's life, and it eats away at the foundation of the lives of all the people around that person. Karen.
Twiggy Leaf.
Oh, bless you, Twiggy. Good morning.
We come to Earth to learn.
We hopefully do.
I also hear that we're sent here to fulfill a purpose. If life as a human is like training to enter the spirit world, do we have a purpose to fulfill there too?
Well, the purpose as I see it, and of course, maybe when it's my turn and I might know more, but the purpose that as I perceive it so far, Greg has his hand on my shoulder, so I'm fairly confident in saying this, is that we each are a soul, a beautiful and incredible energy, and a source of a force and a source of beautiful energy. And we come here to expand and to grow the soul, and to bring more light to the soul, and to bring more love to the soul. And I think, that is our role here, to do that, which is why Greg puts so much store when he's in the phrase, when he says to us, your world needs gentleness above all, because from gentleness comes love, from gentleness comes kindness, from gentleness comes so many things. So he's not saying your world needs more love. He's not saying your world needs more kindness. He's saying your world needs more gentleness, because from gentleness comes all of that other wonderful stuff. When I talk to my grandson, I know my voice changes. When I talk to my daughter, I know my voice changes. As with most of you out there, it becomes softer. It just automatically just becomes softer, gentler. And from that comes such loving, reciprocal. It's sort of, if you're gentle with someone else and caring with someone else, you know, they respond and they draw closer to you because they want more of that feeling. So you know, what was the question?
Is if life as a human is
Oh,
like training.
Twiggy, yeah. Well, there you are. There you have it. I
She
think.
says it's always so hard to choose one question a week, and she snuck in a second.
Go ahead, Twiggy. We'll take a second one from you. Come on, we're happy to. You can ask more than one question. Whether we'll have time for you is another thing. But let's give her a second question right now.
Would you say being a human being before entering the spirit world is like being in the womb before birth?
Yes.
And the afterlife is actual life?
Good job. That wasn't a question. You're making a statement, and then you're saying, is that correct? 1000%. Good girl. Well done. I think it's a girl, Twiggy. Are you a girl or a boy? Al, let's have a question.
We have Nicole.
Good morning, Nicole.
Rosemary, who pass.
I'm sorry, Al, your microphone is muffled.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Feedback.
Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I still got the feedback. Can you hear me okay?
You're muffled, but go ahead.
All right. My loved one who passed in the last 7 months keep coming to me in my dream. Is this person trying to send me a message?
So,
Would you like me to read it?
yeah, Karen's going to read it for you because we're having trouble with you.
My loved one who passed in the last 7 months keeps coming to me in my dreams. Is this person trying to send me a message?
Oh, without a doubt, I think. And I think, who is it who's Nicole, without a doubt. I think you're asking a question you know the answer to, but I'm confirming it for you. I don't think they're trying to say anything specific. I think it's just that you know, there's such sadness around the passing of this person, such, you know, unusual circumstances in so many ways, and such sadness and what you might perceive as unfinished business. And I think this person is just trying to tell you that you know, that they're there and they're safe and that they are with you. I want to add, I don't know why, I'm hoping you'll understand this, Nicole. I want to add, even though they were not always as you might have liked them to be, even though they were not always the way that they might have liked themselves to be, they're trying to say they love you and they're going to be with you and to guide you as much as they can now. So I hope that makes some sense to you. I don't know why, but I'm passing on Grey Eagle's comments to you. So Al,
can you hear me better now?
Yes.
I still see the feedback. Perhaps Carol.
It's like you fade in and out.
Okay, why don't you?
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Flo Gundabobat.
What?
Flo is their name.
Good morning, Flo.
And very jokingly, she says, I'm asking this question for a friend.
Okay. Why isn't the friend asking for themselves?
Do we all have the ability to channel spirit?
I hate the word channel. So that we'll start off with that bit. Because it means different things to different people. I don't channel. I talk to people in the spirit world. So if you're asking, can everyone talk to someone in the spirit world? The answer is yes. If you're asking, can everyone connect with someone in the spirit world? The answer is yes, but not everyone can do it clearly. Not everyone can do it in a precise way, and very often we can get a bit muddled or a bit confused about what we're seeing or sensing. There are different ways to communicate with the spirit world: by sight, by hearing, by our very, you know, essence. We've got clairvoyance, we've got clairaudience, we've got claircognizance, being aware, you know, sort of just in our head of being somewhere. Claire, sentience. We've got, so it's feeling, hearing, sensing in every way, using our 5 senses, even tasting or smelling. You know, we can connect with. I remember my father coming to me one night years ago. I was in bed and I sort of was probably more than half asleep, and I rolled over, and as I rolled over, I got this really strong smell of Brill cream, which is a hair product that they used to use years ago, men used to use years ago. And today we call it wax, don't we? We wax our hair or whatever it is we do with it. But this strong smell of Brill cream was particularly my father, and it woke me up. Wow. And as I sort of moved myself into bed and rolled over and became more aware, I could smell it again, and I knew that my father was in the room with me. So yes, there are lots of ways to connect with, and we all are capable in one way or another, but not everyone is capable of doing it clearly or precisely. Al, should we try again?
No, still.
Okay, Carolyn.
Sorry,
Al.
My view on beauty says that she is from Poland.
Good morning, beauty.
No. She was the girl that just said
Yep.
she can. Okay, and she's an au pair. An au pair.
An au pair, yeah.
Yeah, in Colorado, here with a really
good.
nice family.
Good.
Just so you know that.
Good. I'm glad, because I was a bit worried. Because, you know, it's very daring to do something like that, and, you know, kudos to you for doing it. Good for you. But, you know, and I encourage people to dare to be themselves. I encourage people to try new things. We encourage people, we're talking about, you know, on Friday nights, we talk about everything is attitude, right, Al? And we talk about, you know, people, you know, doing a kindness for someone or going to a neighbor or whatever. But in everything that you do, please, please stay safe. Stay safe. Let's have another question.
Comments.
Let's have can we have some comments here? Because I never get to read the comments. They're gone by the time I'm done.
Matthew says, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
He's in Colorado, or he was last time we heard.
Oh, there you are, Al. A friend for you.
Sharon says, snowbirding in Florida, and I just bought my all-new patio furniture for my lanai. My late husband would have complained about me spending the money, but it looks beautiful.
Oh,
and it's
good for you. Who is that?
That is Sharon.
Good for you, Sharon. I'd love to know where in Florida you are, because I'm in Florida too. Good for you. Buy whatever you want. That old skinflint, he's probably laughing his head off.
Jeff, your friend Jeff
Good morning, darling.
Yes, mince pie. Happy holiday. Happy and Single says, I have an ancient gold coin from the Roman Empire.
Ooh.
I want my nephew to have it because I have no kids. I want that coin to be a family heirloom. You're talking about.
Here's the thing. Let's go back and talk about leaving. You know, one of my daughter's heirlooms is my cookbook, and of course all the books I've ever written and all the videos and all the. I mean, I'm fortunate. I've got a lot of stuff to leave her. Does she want it? Who knows? Here's the thing: when you leave something to someone, when you give something to someone, once you have given it, you do not own it anymore. And what someone does with it is their choice. If you don't want it to be their choice, you know, well, you can put it in the will and say you're never to sell it. But what's the point? Because if they want to sell it, they're going to sell it anyway. If they want to give it to somebody, they're going to give it to somebody. My mother years ago gave me a row of pearls, extremely expensive and beautiful row of pearls that my father procured somehow or another during the war in his time in Japan. We won't say how we got them, but we call them the spoils of war. And I have 3 sisters, none of whom would ever wear pearls. If you forced them, they would never wear pearls. I'm the only feminine girl in the family. So despite her misgivings and not really wanting to give me the pearls, she gave them to me anyway. And she gave them to me, and she brought out a Bible, and she made me put my hand on the Bible to swear that I would not give the pearls to Samantha until I died. And and that was her proviso. There's a way around everything. Of course I swore on the Bible. Of course I'm not going to give her the pearls. But if I choose to, she can have them on long loan. There's always a way around anything. So if you want something to be preserved, you need to understand, you know, if somebody else doesn't value the thing the same way you do, you can't force other people to value what you value yourself. You have to give in generosity, you have to give in love, and then you just have to hope that they value what you've given to them. But if they don't, let it go, because there's not a lot you can do about it, and it's material stuff anyway. I do understand where you're coming from, because there's some stuff that I have that would, if I thought Samantha was going to give stuff away, it would upset me. But at the same time, you know, that's my issue, not hers. Let's go to the next question, Carolyn.
Catherine asks.
Or more comments or whatever.
Catherine asks, to keep my life peaceful, I have salt lines in front of both windows and mirror, and I haven't had any disturbing dreams or premonitions in months. Has anybody else heard of that?
Salt lines?
Yes.
I've heard of something similar. I mean, people put rosemary at the door, they put garlic, up, you know, bunches of garlic on the door to keep the witches out. I mean, that was an old thing. I haven't heard of salt lines. I'd be very interested to learn more about that.
She's also wondering how, with the negative energy that's going on, does anybody not absorb it all? How do you, specifically you?
Yeah, we get a lot of negative stuff going on sometimes. I actually mostly ignore it. Again, it's if you don't let it in, if you don't allow, you have to understand the negative stuff that people, you know, throw at you often comes from such small and narrow-minded and mean people, and they're really not worth giving even a second to. So I don't. I always focus on staying positive. Of course, I'm human. There are times when I don't manage it. Al, I don't know if you can hear this conversation here that we're having.
Yes.
But staying positive, we've talked about this, haven't we, on our Everything is Attitude show. And, you know, there are ways and means of staying positive even when it's hard to do it. If you watch our Everything is Attitude show, you might learn a thing or two about how to stay positive. But negative energy, you know, look, I've got more positive energy than I know what to do with, so I just put it about. And my positive energy dispels the negative stuff. When we do have negative stuff, for instance, I had someone this week who was very distressed and, you know, very, very negative and really having a tough time. And when that happens and it's right in my sphere, right, come and sit down and we'll talk about it. Now tell me what you're thinking, tell me what you're feeling, and I listen. If I can give a little bit of advice, I do, but mostly I listen. And that drives the negative out. I'm always positive. I'm always making positive suggestions. You can't change the other people in your life, but you can change you and you can change your attitude. Do you have anything to say about that, Carolyn?
I concur.
She concurs. I concur. I love that. I concur. All right, Al, do you have anything to say about that?
Or can you talk?
Can you talk?
No, I think it's feedback, but I
okay. No, we're sorry. Do without you then.
Baby B.
Good morning, baby B.
Good morning. I have been super tired. Is this because of some type of energy shift? I have cut off anyone who drains me, but I still feel tired and drained.
Sounds like you need to go to a dance or go have fun with girlfriends or go and have dinner somewhere or go into the kitchen and make some good stuff. It sounds like you need to be spending time doing something for other people. And I'll tell you why that is. And you may be that person who does something for everybody else. I'm not saying that you don't, but this is what I find. If you're feeling down, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling tired, get off your butt. Either go to bed, have a really good sleep, or if you can't do that, find something to do for someone else. Give yourself a challenge, because if you offer to go into the children's home and read a book, you've got to stay awake to do it, and you start to take your mind off of what it is that's depressing you and what it is that, you know, is making you feel down. If you go to the hospital, or you go to the food kitchens, or actually just go shopping if you want to do. And this is the time of year, go shopping and look, really think hard about what the people around you would like for Christmas that you can afford. And if all you can afford is a batch of cookies, go in the kitchen and make those. You take your mind, in other words, take your mind off of what is going on with you. Every day I wake up tired these days. I mean, we're working so hard here. I'm trying to get everything sorted out for Christmas. And so many people out there, and oh God, I'm so tired. I'm really tired. Oh my goodness, I'm really, really tired. And then I get on with it. It's the only thing I can do. Otherwise, I just end up in a little puddle on the sofa, half asleep, miserable, unhappy, and becoming even more miserable and unhappy. So get active. That would be my suggestion. Get active, because once you start to create energy within yourself in order to do things, that energy increases and it grows.
Denise asks.
Morning, Denise.
My friend died yesterday morning.
Oh.
I know she's at peace, but does she really know how much I love her?
Gregor has immediately put his hand on my shoulder. The answer is yes, 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 without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know that she loves you. You don't need me to tell you that she does. I think, once again, it's a confirmation. So I'm confirming what you already know, that she totally loves you. And Gregor is also whispering in my ear, and she's safe. So Denise, she's safe. She's okay.
Okay, Keisha joined us last week.
Who?
She's Keisha.
Good morning, Keisha.
She is concerned that her question got skipped again, and her question is, hello, do I have any loved ones that have any messages for me?
Right, we're not skipping the question, but it would be lovely if you could ask another question. Because the answer to your question, I'm going to answer the question, and the answer is, I'm sure that you do. Now, come on, darling, think of a different question. Think of all the things that you might want to know about the spirit world, or about what get your curiosity going. We're not skipping over you, sweetheart, I promise you. I try to answer all the questions that are put to us. Let's have another question.
A different Nicole asks.
Good morning,
Rosemary.
Nicole. Good morning.
My dad has had 2 sisters pass away in less than a year.
Ooh.
The last one passed 2 weeks ago. He is also having some health issues. Is there anything I can do to help him feel better?
Well, you're lovely. Good for you. I don't know how old your dad is. You could read to him if he can't read himself. You could sit with him, have coffee with him, make some cookies or something. That always makes everybody feel better. But if he can't read, I'm going to suggest read him The Eagle and the Rose, or read him a book that inspires you, or you might think inspires him. Because The Eagle and the Rose is a really easy book to read. It's very easy. And it tells the story of life and life after death without, I think, going into the depths of it. We are actually, Carolyn is actually transcribing that book now. We're actually going to be putting it on
Lulu for an ebook.
On Lulu as an ebook. We're going to be putting it out as an ebook fairly soon. But sitting and reading, how in the long ago days we'd make a big fire and we'd sit around the fire and read, and it's Christmas after all. So just read him inspiring stories, or just be with him. And, and tell him you love him. Tell him you love him often enough. Make him some cookies, or if you can't make them, just make him some chocolates or something that's going to make him feel good. You are lovely to be even thinking of this. But I'm going to suggest, reading stories, or telling him stories, and just sitting and telling him about your day is going to make him feel so much better.
Okay. Sharon, coming back to Sharon, she says she lives in Boynton Beach, but her best friend lives here in Venice, so she needs to email us. You want to give her the email?
Email us.
Come be a guest.
Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. You could come and sit on our sofa. Venice is lovely. Venice is really, really lovely. And then another question.
Dean's saying sometimes it's very hard to hear the questions, so if you could repeat my questions, That would be wonderful.
Oh, okay.
Jen asks,
Are we having trouble then with the thing
the
today?
first time I've heard, and it may have been I said one question very softly because Venice's friend passed away.
Oh,
So that could have been why too.
okay.
I
I hope you've got that saran wrap off that Christmas cake, Dean.
He actually says it's not saran wrap, so I'm not sure what.
It should be parchment paper, whatever it is.
And Chris has a question. Your
Yes.
friend Chris.
Good morning, Chris.
She's asking for her sister.
Okay.
Is there any message for her or her children and mother-in-law from Ed?
You should know better than to ask that question. I'll talk to you later. Not even going
Alright.
there.
Gabby from Peru asks.
Good morning, Gabby from Peru.
My mother is from England and my father from Peru. I'd love the guidance from my father. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Let us know what it's like in Peru. I'd love to go to Peru. I'm trying to think if I've been. I think I might have been. Isn't that awful when you've been to so many countries that you lose count of where you've been? Let's have another question.
Denise actually has a very good comment.
Go
It
ahead.
appears that spirituality consists with a heaping dose of common sense.
Oh, if only people would have that common sense. We had somebody recently who actually came to me for a consultation and didn't like the common sense. Didn't like the common sense approach. So if anybody out there is thinking of having a consultation with me, don't come to me if you don't want common sense, because that's all I can give you. That's, you know, and you know, if you don't, you know, if you know, sometimes the spirit
It wasn't
world,
you saying it, it was her
yeah,
loved ones.
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I'm perfectly capable of putting in my own views as well. I mean, but I do try, you know, to say what it is the spirit world have to say. But you know, we're not always going to like to hear what they have to say to us, especially if we are, you know, sort of so steeped in what's going on with us that we can't lift our eyes and see what's happening elsewhere. Sometimes someone in the spirit world will say something that, you know, might give you a good kick up the bum because that's what you need. And I always say to people, when you go to see someone like me, you might not get what you want, but you always get what you need. And so you're laughing at me. What are you laughing at, Carolyn?
Dean screaming at us, it is parchment paper.
No, it's not. It's the wrong colour. Just like, okay, I'm not saying anymore. You cannot see cake through parchment paper. It might be greaseproof paper you've got.
No, it didn't have any wrapping on it in that picture.
Oh,
It's
didn't
just,
it?
No, it was just very shiny.
Oh. Well, now you got it. You must have just dosed it.
It could have been. So, love from Jan and Bob. She just
Good morning,
finished
Jan and
reading A Walk in the Clouds, and she loves it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
There are quite a few people who would like basically consultations, so please feel free to email Rosemary.
Email me, Rosemary Altea, for a consultation. I am not cheap, so just so you know. And I don't. I always say to people, you know, at the very beginning of every consultation, if this does not work and I cannot connect with someone in the spirit world for you, then we can do one of two things. I can certainly give you back your money, or we can book another appointment and keep booking appointments until it works, because given time, those in the spirit world, sometimes they do have a hard time coming through the first or second times. However, if I do connect with someone in the spirit world and I spend almost 2 hours with you, it's only 50 minutes, but I've never done a 50-minute consult ever, really, because I'm not for a long time anyway. And I do spend that time with you. And if I do, you know, if I do connect with someone in the spirit world, that's it. You're paying for my time and my expertise. And if you don't like what they have to say to you, there's not a lot I can do about that. Just so we're clear. Have I just put everybody off now? Nobody wants to come to me anymore for a consult because I'm too tough. But, you know, life, you know, I mean, life is short. Make the most of it, the best of it. And if someone in the spirit world, is trying to say to you, look, you've got to stop looking inward at yourself. So, you know, as I just said to some lady, you know, try and, if you sort of can look outside of yourself, as hard as it can be. I have been at that place. Don't think I'm unsympathetic when someone is depressed. Please don't think that, because I've been in that place. I spent, not so long ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I spent a few hours in the bathtub because I was afraid to get out of the bathtub for fear of what I might do to myself. Depression can be an awful thing. I'm not making light of it. But having been through that depression, and on a few occasions, having been in that situation, I understand it very well. And I do understand that no matter how much you talk about being depressed, and no matter how much people will be willing to listen to you when you're depressed, and you do need people to talk to, but no matter how much that is, the only person who's actually going to get you out of it is you yourself, taking one step at a time. And I feel that if you take one step at a time and focus on somebody else and somebody else's needs, even if it's only for 5 minutes in a day, it will move you forward, and you'll become less and less depressed and more aware of other people and other people's needs. And before you know it, you'll be an active and positive member of the community, because that's what most of us want to be. Not all of us, but most of us want to be that.
Wrapping it up for today.
Okay. Do we have one more question? Or a comment, a couple of comments, anything at all?
Gabby
we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Jen
I'm
has a
so
question.
excited about Christmas. Yes?
Hi, Rosemary. Do you believe in mystical creatures?
I
Have
do.
you seen one? Can you tell us your experience?
My daughter held a fairy in her hand many years ago. I believe that she believed. And when you believe that, you know, that people can believe in these things, and there's a little bit of belief in you too. That doesn't mean I believe in the man coming down the chimney in a big red suit, but my grandson does. And as long as he does, I believe too. And I'm going to make it the most magical I can possibly make it, as we all should do with our children. Remember years ago, I had a mother-in-law who we'll say was not necessarily nice always, but then who is. And as I'm holding my newborn baby in my arms, it's May, April, she was born in April. As I held her in my arms, she quite candidly and thoroughly and aggressively said, and don't think we're going to have any of that, you know, Father Christmas nonsense or fairies or, you know, dancing snowmen and so on. And I looked at her and I said, well, in that case, don't think I'm going to bring my child around you, because you mentioned one time there is no Father Christmas to my child. That's the last you'll see of both of us. That's how strongly I feel about it. You have to have magic. You have to bring magic into kids' lives, don't you? I mean, it's all part and parcel of being a child. On that note, we will be here next week, so it's still Christmas. I shall be in New York, however, and someone will be here staying at the house with my little cachorro. And so I'm going to see my darling boy and my darling girl, but I will be chatting with you, with Al, hopefully, next Thursday. I'll be here tomorrow night with Al. We'll have to make sure we get the sound, Al, for our Everything is Attitude show. And you're welcome. Yes, we do take live chats. It's the same sort of thing as we do here. And we're going to be, I don't know what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. We have to think about it. But we're excited to do that. So please join us Friday night, 6 p.m. Standard Eastern Time on Friday night. We'll be here again next Thursday, as usual, 11 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. Until I see you again. Sorry.
One question, one moment.
Yeah.
Catherine, did you hear all that? You need to hook up with Rosemary and Al on Facebook tomorrow for the Everything is Attitude. That'll connect you with Dean, because Dean and Catherine are talking here. Catherine needs people to talk to. And the other thing is the link for...
I didn't understand a word you said.
They do. They do.
All right.
The other thing is the link for the cookbook will be up on the Facebook page by 3 o'clock today.
We're so excited. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. Do you think Santa Claus is going to come to see me? I tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to, while I'm in New York, I'm going to take my grandson to a carol service. It will be his first ever carol service, and we're going to sing our hearts out because he has a beautiful voice, a beautiful, beautiful voice. And I love to sing. Whether or not it's a beautiful voice or not is anybody's opinion, but I love to sing, and my favorite is to sing Christmas carols. Whether or not you're celebrating Christmas, please get into the spirit of it anyway. Our world needs gentleness. Al, I'm sorry we couldn't hear you today, but thank you for being with us anyway, and thank you for staying. You know, listening to all of this with us. I appreciate that. And Carolyn, thank you to you. We thank Grey Eagle, of course. And until I see you all again next week, I've got to find that little red arrow, little white arrow. There it is on the little red thing. Until I see you all again next week, please, 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 please. I might see some of you tomorrow night. Have a very, very, yes, and a very blessed day.